Oh no, how many times have you been playing Farthest Frontier and you get a full-scale invasion with hundreds of enemy raiders coming to kill you? Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome back to the channel, where today I'm going to tell you all about the military of Farthest Frontier, how to build up a steady and stable force, and of course how to resist all these constant invasions from these pesky raiders. This is all part of our series covering the 1.0 launch of Farthest Frontier, and it's good to have you all back. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on that notification bell, and all that good stuff to support the channel, and hopefully more people will see this. The raiders here are going to attack our base very soon. In fact, I think we have a triple raid going on where they're coming from multiple different directions, and this is a city that we built a while ago. I'm slowing down the time here just to explain a few things and try to defend our base. So anyway, in Farthest Frontier, if you're looking to defend against the raiders, it's much different than before. Previous episodes of the game, we talked about building walls like that, and then putting down like a tower or whatnot to shoot at them as they come in and build multiple towers. Well, this time things are a little bit different. Through the research tree, research is a little more well, mixed up, and so thus your defenses will probably be a little mixed up too. It's not bad, but it's just different than it was before. Here's an important section of the research tree that you might want to invest in, just between the purple section and the blue here, right where you see the cavalry and the infantry there. There's a section for building defensive barricades, which then goes up to reinforced palisades, then up to stone battlements, and then finally arrow loops for advanced towers. Then it goes even further into battlement fortifications, a larger tower that you can build, and then also citadels, upgrading your barracks even further. There is a monument then, the Gates of Valor, that you can build through that for a victory, but really the most basic thing that you're going to be building in this game is barracks, in order to then also use them as a tower. Here, this barracks loaded up with infantry is going to have archers within it, and we've got mostly archers in our game. The archers here at the southern defense, archers here at our northern defense that are coming down to reinforce them. They've got a lot of crossbows with them. We've also got some archers here too that are nearby, coming down to their aid as well. And also we've got some melee forces here, some footmen or some soldiers that should be able to lay waste to the enemy forces as they're coming in. Now the raiders are now on their way, and they're starting to shoot at our civilians. Oh no, and they're going to die, which honestly happens all the time. It's unfortunate, and it used to be absolutely game-breaking whenever you lose a few people in this game, but the developers have made it a lot easier to regain people after an invasion like that. Even if you ring the bell, unfortunately there will be people out there gathering and doing their jobs and living their best life, and yeah, it's a really a shame. So we're going to go ahead and focus now on, instead of building walls and towers, building a wall of shields and a wall of barracks and other things like that. Now eventually our plan is to build like a gate here and a wall and towers, because we know the enemy continuously is attacking from here, and this is your first lesson, is location. In this map we started with our city center up here, which is a great location because there's a ton of choke points where I've also built additional barracks, almost acting like forts out in like the Wild West or something like that. And these can defend areas from invaders and cover large areas. You can click on them. You can see that the taller that we build them, or the higher up that we build them, they actually do more damage from their ranged attack. So areas that would normally be like 4s and 5s are actually 6s and 7s, doing more damage to the enemy by being higher up. So you can see where this is also at an elevation there and does a little bit more damage too. So always build those up on a hill to do more damage to the approaching enemy, and we've even got another one built over here too that will provide more troops for us. These are expensive. They do have like an upkeep to them. And of course you got to upgrade them for a very expensive price to the Citadel, so it'll take a lot of research and a lot of gold to do that, but they'll be very strong, and we can also recruit troops this way. So let's go ahead and fight the battle, and then I'll talk a little bit more about how to get these troops, how to train them, what types of weapons there are, and really maybe best practices for your city going forward. But every city will be different now in Farthest Frontier, because there is so many different ways now to research and to also defend yourself than before, now that we've got way more capable military units and way more options like cavalry than we had before. All right, let's go ahead and get our troops kind of laid out here. We're going to try to create a defensive wall of arrows. And let's get our second force up here.
It will be done.
It will be done, indeed.
Right away.
All right, we got our melee forces there ready to go too. All right, so the enemy's approaching. This is a rather organized group of raiders, but when you're going to battle in this game, you may find small little camps of bandits that are kind of like, they're also raiders as well. You may see some of these weapons along with them. Remember, we're playing on a slower setting, so they are kind of just taking their sweet time. So you'll mostly see guys with clubs like this. out at these raider and bandit camps, and you can send your troops out to those camps in order to destroy them. There were a couple up here, for example, for me, and sometimes they'll even defend these excavated ruins, and inside those excavated ruins will be relics. So if you start to excavate these, the enemy may spawn a few troops to go and defend this site, as well as like little bandit camps that do have a tower of their own, and those you're going to want to clear from the map to delay the enemy's attacks. But eventually they'll come, and they'll come in greater numbers, and eventually they'll start to bring siege weapons. Like up here you see their battering ram, but they can also bring like catapults and I think eventually cavalry, although I haven't seen it yet, but we've got our own on standby. So this is a good number of raiders. This is like almost, I don't know, 100 plus men maybe. There might be even more on the map that we don't see. And the raiders sometimes can attack from different directions. And so you might not be tested on one front. Luckily here, we're only going to be attacked from there. We already see our archers, well, crossbowmen engaging the enemy. So the crossbowmen, our military units here, have several different options for formations. If we click on the formational button down here, we could actually select them, and we do have stances for them. So an offensive stance, defensive stance, hold position, or to retreat to the garrison. And we can also then select all of our archer units, all of our infantry, cavalry, or tell everyone at once to do something by selecting them all. Now the enemy is going to have to approach here, and if this were earlier versions of Farthest Frontier, I think they made raiders way more effective and very, very brutal because it was easier to stop them. You could build a wall, then you could build a gate, and then you could build towers behind that, and then you could put an army behind that, so the enemy would be pretty weakened, but they were still very, very powerful. So first and foremost, this is our biggest threat on the battlefield right now, this battering ram. This could damage our main defense, which is the barracks, and so all troops are going to have to defend the barracks, and these troops here also have limited ammo, although the ones inside have a lot more. So 12 troops in the current barracks can be garrisoned in there, and that's usually why I build archers to act as kind of like a super tower, almost like it's a super checkpoint, and our units will fight back and forth. And there is veterancy here too, so as they're scoring more and more kills, you'll actually see that their veterancy will go up. And as we deploy the unit, you'll see like number of kills and veterancy, and you can micromanage this to see your troops get away from battle and to make sure they don't die, and that's a good idea. Here I'm just going to let it play out and we'll see what happens, but I think it's much more interesting to see it play out in the slower settings. We're going to go ahead and pull these troops back. I think they're getting a little too aggressive, and we're going to ask them to hold their position back here and not interfere with the archers, who are really doing a great job here. When the archers need to pull back because the enemy's getting too close, we'll do so there.
Right away.
And we'll let them lure them in a little bit more towards our barracks, which is essentially like an MG42 on D-Day. I mean, the amount of crossbow fire that comes out of this thing, it's almost like a shotgun blast. It's doing some really good damage against these raiders. And a lot of these guys will turn around once their health is starting to diminish.
At the ready.
We got somebody who didn't... Gladana, what are you doing, girl? Get back there. You're crazy. But yeah, a lot of these raiders would turn tail and run as soon as they're starting to take a lot of damage. And even the game does have some lower level lookout towers which you can use to defend against raids. Right now I've also sounded the alarm at my town hall, and you can do that by clicking on the building, or there's a little button above it, and that'll hopefully inform a lot of people to get the hell home and get into cover. But when raids happen early like this, you can still build these lookout towers, which could have one or two or multiple people in there with crossbows, and it's a great idea to defend your trade depot, your storage yards, and of course your vault too, so that way your money doesn't get stolen. And also great to have interlocking sectors of fire, so that way the enemy is just under constant fire, even if they happen to destroy a tower. Here we go. They're now starting to hit the barracks there, and they're going to try to do some damage, but we're going to ask our footmen there to go take action against them. And you can even see this tower here firing at the enemy, since it's close to the border and somewhat valuable. I wanted to make sure we defended our ceramics thing there. All right, citizens are beginning to flee. Our guards are starting to make contact with the enemy at their little battering ram. And more troops are funneling in. Look at that. Insane. Now, some of these guys are just, like, it's funny how they attack. Like, there's guys that are clearly just have a giant backpack. They're looking to loot. There's dudes with maces. There's dudes with, you know, like axes. But then there's, like, big, capable fighters with, like, giant maces. And you can tell that they're really higher level. But boom, there went the little battering ram. It also dropped off some troops when it died, too. And our troops here are starting to get some veterancy from fighting and killing the enemy, and now they're starting to push deeper into our territory. We had a little bit of a feigned retreat. We faked out the enemy by pulling back and starting to do more damage and creating crossfire now. The barracks is firing at anybody and everybody who's nearby, and the crossbowmen here are stopping anybody getting closer to, which is our university and theater there at the bottom. This is pretty much our first and last line of defense. We got no other troops here. But it really does come down to how you micromanage these situations, and it's advisable, very, very advisable, to play on a slower speed, because then you can more micro this situation. Here I'm just going to kind of let it play out a little bit more than usual, so if anybody dies, it's okay. But I have completed this scenario that I've created for myself by basically just, micromanaging and moving away from the enemy and trying to deal with them as quickly as possible. Damn, they're getting rowdy, though. A lot of screaming going on down here. It's pretty crazy. We may have taken some military losses, but honestly, our troops with just basic, I think it's gambesons and sword and shield, are melting through the enemy. They're just cutting through like a hot knife through butter. But there are other pieces of armor in the game. There's heavy, like plate armor and heavy weapons like pole arms, so you should be able to break through them pretty easy. But this guy here, there's your high-level fighter right there. A Raider shield bearer with 340 health right there, and he's also got some armor and does 30 damage. Versus like this guy here with 120 and is already hightailing it out of there. Cool to see a battle take place like this. Some of my most favorite battles in Farthest Frontier have taken place in these like narrow land bridges between lakes, and especially in the mountains where it's like really steep cliffs, and a barracks can just stop an entire army. It's very cool. Our village was raided. Oh no, they killed 5 villagers, which I think was just people out here. Major victory against the enemy. Excellent. The raid size, they sent 138 troops at us. We killed 112. Everyone else is fleeing, and they were not able to destroy anything, and they weren't able to pillage anything. So a complete embarrassment to the raiders, but that they'll be back. They're back every year, but they can't make the playoffs. Anyway, let's go ahead and pull our troops back then. We could kill them all. There's really not a benefit for killing all of them. I'm sure the basic questions are, do you get anything from killing these guys? Unfortunately, no. They drop their weapons and armor and shields and stuff. You don't get to pick them up. It's very much like Manor Lords. Like, if your troops die, you don't get to pick up your troop stuff. You don't get to pick up the enemy stuff. There's not like a raider camp nearby where you can loot their camp that they just attacked us from. They just come in from off map, and it's basically, hey, can you hold? I hope so. But yeah, look at the mess they leave behind. Luckily, unlike Manor Lords, we don't have to bury all these bodies. They'll go away after time, and I think maybe it provides a happiness boost. I'm not sure if it does. If there's a recent victory, it might provide some sort of happiness. Maybe there might be a mechanic for that, but it's better than everybody dying. So unfortunately, 5 people dead. You can micro them and try to get them out of there, but the raiders, just like your villagers, will take this road into town, or any roads that you build going outside of town, and it's kind of a way to lure them in. Now, they were almost able to destroy the barracks. It's almost about half health, and they were hitting it pretty good with that battering ram, and they did the most amount of damage with that in a very short amount of time. So you can imagine a structure like this that has almost 4,000 health. Imagine a wall with towers. Like, they'd cut right through that wall, and then the enemy would pour right through. So sometimes walls, unfortunately in this game, are still like a 1-by-1 block like wide. I want bigger walls that are like 2 or 3 blocks wide. I want thick walls from like Stronghold, like Crusader or the original. So that'd be a good thing. All right, well, how do we get to this point, right? Like, we've won the battle, but how do we get here? What should we do? Well, building a military should probably start on day 1 in the game by building, and I mean this, literally hunting camps. If you build the hunting camps, they're very, very important things that help to defend against wild animals like boars and wolves and bears at the start. And your hunting camps, you can patrol an area with them, and you can actually click on them and select the person who's there. So Rosario here, you can see him shooting at these deer, and he's doing hunting. Nice shot, bro. We just got good shot, dude. That was cool to catch that. He's got a crossbow too, and there's policies for giving the hunters better weapons or prioritizing the military. That's how important they are, because it is kind of a hidden game mechanic. So on day 1, when you start building your hunting camps, keep in mind that these guys are heroes. They will be armed with bows. They will be armed with swords. They'll be able to manage to fend off any sort of attack, and they kind of get like extra health and armor so they can take some damage. And oftentimes, unfortunately, they die of rabies because, they'll shoot a wolf and can't kill him in time, and then they'll start to kind of like melee, and the wolf will bite them, and yeah, oftentimes they end up in the graveyard. So big F down below in the comment section for our people who've fallen to rabies over the years. But yeah, as you can see, our graveyard's not too full, actually. Very happy to see that. There used to be a lot more deaths in this game from old age, but now it just seems to be mostly to disease and old age, but not like every 10 seconds, so that's good. So once you've built some hunters in your earlier starting area, I honestly recommend doing exactly this with these lookout towers that are looking over each other and providing interlocking circles of fire. They can fire 360. The higher up you build them, the more damage they can do. But honestly, each of these towers are pretty cheap to build, but it's a good idea to build more than one of them, especially where the enemy is going to congregate and what their attack target is. Don't try to block them out of the city. Let them into the city first, and they'll literally just try to go for the loot. So they will try to go towards your warehouses, your stock houses, your trade depots. They'll try to take your money. They'll go for this stuff. On occasion, they'll break into your town and they'll try to burn down houses. And even those damn bandits will go towards your monuments. So they'll try to like destroy any of these monuments, which were really, really expensive. They take a lot of gold to build, and they take a lot of iron to build too. So later stages, they'll start to go towards that. So it might be advisable to also build lookout towers, somewhere like in between your barracks and things like that once you build them. But yes, those lookout towers, still very valuable.
Yes.
And could be eventually, she agrees with me. These can be upgraded then from a lookout tower to the arrow loops, which I guess that's the research needed for the tier 2 tower. I'm just going to call them the tier 2 tower or the stone tower. But those are basically more defensive. They have a lot more health. And I don't think they have a better range, but they can still hold 2 men in them. I think it should maybe double to like 4. But anyway, once you've got things set up, a couple of crossbowmen and a lookout tower is still pretty good, even though we haven't upgraded these. So again, interlocking areas of fire, knowing that your town center can also defend. You can shoot animals and stuff out of that. If you sound the alarm, people can grab bows from inside there. So that's a defensive structure. And also a good idea to have multiple barracks, especially one in the city with like foot infantry, like these, what do they call them here? I guess the tier 1 troopers, the melee units. Let's go ahead and see exactly what they call them. Yeah, so in the game you have light infantry, that's what they are, they're light infantry, and archers, which we have also armed with crossbows. They can either take bows or crossbows. And then you've got heavy infantry and pikemen. So the heavy infantry take some larger shields, and also, as you can see up top there, they take the hauberks, plate mail, and shields, and then the pikemen are the ones who take heavy weapons and hauberks and plate mail. So there's a little bit of a difference between them by their main weapon. They don't carry a shield, they just have a heavy weapon, and these do carry it, but they both take the plates. But also you can see their monthly cost, and your budget is maybe your biggest battle in this game. It is hard to get that money going. You immediately want to have all the defense that you need, but these troops need to be fed, they need to be paid, they need to be housed and trained, and that takes a crazy amount of money. So just kind of like in the Anno games, if you take a look at your budget here, our budget for defense is, our guard training is negative 32 coin, and then our military is, I don't even see it listed there. Soldier training is negative 252. So 252 for our professional army, and then another 32 for our troops who are in the towers, and they're still pretty useful, and they carry crossbows, and so we can pull all them in for the defense. So don't underestimate them. They're kind of like the police, right? And then your professional army is like the military. So don't underestimate them, because they'll fight alongside the regular army, no problem. They're just a little harder to get organized because of the towers. So then, what's the right time to build a barracks, I think? Well, honestly, I think it's after maybe 3 invasions. After you've dealt with them 3 times, now is the time to build your first barracks. And, while you're dealing with the enemy, where they have these little camps, again, use your lookout towers, gather all those troops and send them out to go shoot at wolf dens and clear out boars and other, camps that might be out there, and then eventually build your barracks, and then only have like maybe 4 troops in there. Maybe 2 or 3 invasions, right? You build this barracks, and this should be the thing to slow them down. They should be lured over to this thing, and then you keep one group garrisoned in there at all times, and then maybe have reinforcements on standby. And that's why I built some in the center. So all of our outer barracks should be basically their own castles, and think of them as having walls and towers too. And when they're damaged, they'll also auto-repair themselves. So when the enemy is attacked, you'll have defenders on the inside, and maybe even defenders coming over, either the light infantry or additional archers. So you'll have to check your mini-map, and when you've got a larger city that's sprawling, you should be able to catch where they're coming from. So once you built those barracks, it's time to start looking at that budget, and you got to generate more money somehow. So some things like making sure you've got a really well-built city that has markets that take advantage of every single house in town. That provides you with money. You could work at a deficit too. You could have like a negative 30 income or something like that and still be pumping out a lot of stuff that the traders want to buy for cash, and then just transfer the money to your city for a while. There's great ways to pay for stuff. Make furniture, make extra food, or another great way to get it is by trading soap, and soap is a great way to make money, as well as like clothing with Beldar, and that's a good way to stack up 3 or 4K. And even if you're working at a negative 30 for a couple of years, I mean, you can do that no problem. So when it comes to these troops, there's not really much you have to do other than hiring them. Once you have hired them, there's a recruitment cost here. It's 25, and then the monthly cost of 6. So there's an upfront cost to kind of like make sure you don't like turn on and off your military. You don't want to do that. Like, you definitely don't want to do that. These units do have some veterancy to them. You can see here combat efficiency at 94%, and also veterancy. So once somebody's in the military, it's a big decision. You don't want to go back. You don't want your farmers to then be soldiers when the time comes. And that's really hard, because the troops will have to run. If you're thinking about doing this with towers, the people who operate at the towers, if you turn them off, they have to go and get all the supplies for the towers again. They don't just grab a gun and go. They have to come to the tower here and actually stock it full of stuff. This one right here is empty, but some of these towers will eventually have some things in them for the winter months. They will get like firewood to stay warm, food, and other things like that. And also, when you first assign them, they have to run and go get a weapon and ammo. Like the people at home, once they're assigned, it takes them a while to move around. So you've got to, once you have that army, you've got to like really commit to it. So you want to almost be on overkill of the amount of money and stuff you need. Now, I've been playing on an extra layer of caution in this game, because previously, if you couldn't pay your military once, the people who've sworn to die and protect the nation, the moment they don't get a paycheck, they're out. Like, they just bail instantaneously. And not only do they just like leave the military, but they actually move out. Like, they abandon their family, their friends, they leave their house, and they hightail it out of here. You miss one paycheck and they are done. And that's interesting, because they're sworn to protect and they're willing to die. But I mean, I understand. It's I get it. But also, that's why you want to have a big amount of money. Like, you really need to make sure you got that, so that way they don't leave. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but I've been screwed over so many times by the military not wanting to defend, and it just tanks a city. Kind of sucks. So anyway, I err extremely on the side of caution for that one. Now, another nice thing here, too, is that just like with transferring animals between barns and whatnot, there's also a way to transfer soldiers to different barracks. And I think you could transfer, like, any number of these guys to a whole different defense. If we click here, you can actually see that we can send them to a completely different defensive position, like up here. But it has to transfer the whole unit. Everybody has to go. We can't like pick and choose who to transfer. So it would be nice to have like one main garrison and train troops there, and then send them off to other garrisons. Like, everybody has to go together. They stick together. So if you have 2 people here, if you want to send one off, no, you got to send 2. So you have to grow an entire squad and then keep them there. So I hope in the future they make a change to that. But there is nice ways to custom design the different banners, so you can kind of remember. Here, I have these symbols to remind me that this group's in the south, this group's in the north, and then that this one's kind of like in between, whatever. So there are options to change the different flags for them, and there's also options to name the companies too. So that here we have the Southern Garrison, and you can rename the military company or their position or something like that. We can also disband the company. Bad idea there, I think. And there's also a company's window, so you can take a look at all the information pertaining to your military. So there's a military tab. So you can see here we can get horsemen and lancers, so that's like light and heavy infantry. And then there's light and heavy cavalry. And then there's light and heavy infantry here with archers and also pikemen. And then you can see your monthly cost for that. But keep in mind that doesn't take into account the guards that we saw earlier. So that's why I brought that to your attention too. And then you can see where they're at. And apparently some of these guys are sick. That's interesting. We should have them retreat. They are wounded from battle, so let's go ahead and have them RTB. So once we're done with the fight, we can tell everyone to retreat to garrison. They'll take the roads and they'll get out of here and go to the healer if they need to. And yeah, festering wounds could be a problem in combat. So one of the upgrades I might recommend to you is definitely make sure you have a hospital. And then if you're getting into a lot of combat, there is a hospital upgrade, which I'll have to find here, that does help to prevent festering wounds. Here you got your steel surgical tools. That's plus 30% recovery rate from festering wounds. And then hospitalization. And I think there's even alcohol for alcohol sterilization. So plus 15% improved recovery from injury. And that helps anybody, because that, that could be for somebody who gets, I think, a broken bone at like the mine, or sometimes people get wounded in festering wounds from animal combat, like your hunters or just a random citizen walking through and getting attacked by a wolf or something, or a whole den of wolves. So very interesting. Now, I haven't seen the option in this game yet to be able to build our own siege weapons. It would be nice if we could build also on top of like towers, like I don't know, ballistas, or be able to dig a moat. We can't do that kind of stuff, unfortunately. You're not able to, like, dig through here and make like a moat or a canal and then put a bridge over that. That would be cool. The walls are a little too thin. We can't really build towers or any sort of defenses on them. So I hope in the future the developers want to do that kind of stuff and focus more on the military. But I think the biggest step forward in this game was the technology tree. And again, there's more stuff pertaining to the military here for that too. So like things like heat-treated halbards and like steel armaments and other things like the horse barding, which like further enhance your military. And these are also things you can buy or make. So this is really more about, and I'm glad they put this over here, metallurgy. So you're, having your blacksmith making better stuff. It takes a long time to get up that tech tree in order to make your own weapons, your own tools, and mine, and make your own coal and iron into ingots and other things like that. So very important stuff. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to be all for our first look at military, kind of when to upgrade, how to do it. Again, going from your hunting to your lookouts to your barracks, and then having a mobile defense, and then more of a stationary defense, but making sure that you have a strong economy too. And to help you get that strong economy, don't forget to watch our other videos on that. Don't walk away, and don't forget to watch all of the other tutorials for Farthest Frontier for the 1.0, covering all sorts of things like pigs and chickens, and building your town from day one, and how to work on beautification and other things of that nature. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. Thanks for subbing. Thanks for hanging out. And glory to Raptoria. We won ourselves a big old battle against the enemy. That was awesome. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everybody.